So I saw Across the Spider-Verse recently, and oh boy, it blew my pants off, blew it back on, and blew my pants off again.
This is something else.
It got me thinking about this really old Spider-Man game I played way back when I was a lot younger and less depressed. A Spider-Man game that would help shape the foundations of every other Spider-Verse story that came after. Let's talk about Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions.
Yeah, I need a suit.
Suit?
The story starts with Spider-Man chasing after Mysterio, who's after a magical artifact called the Tablet of Order and Chaos. During the fight, the magic artifact is broken into multiple shards and scattered across 4 different dimensions. Now it's up to you and the other Spider-Man to retrieve the shards before it falls into the wrong hands and before the power of the tablets cause reality to fall apart, bringing about Shattered Dimensions.
That's the name of the movie.
Each dimension features its own distinct Spider-Man with their own unique quirks and abilities. You have the Amazing Dimension, which is basically the original or the classic version of Spider-Man we all know and love. The Ultimate Dimension, with a younger, reimagined version of the original Peter Parker going through high school, who in his dimension ends up passing on the mantle of Spider-Man to Miles Morales in the comics, just like in the Spider-Verse movie. In order to differentiate it gameplay-wise from the Amazing Spider-Man, this Spider-Man is given the ability to tap into the Venom symbiote. You gain access to the symbiote's full powers by filling up your rage bar through combat. When you've gotten your Spidey sufficiently angry, you can activate the symbiote's rage mode and go ham on your enemies.
Surprise, shocker? Let me tell it to you straight. I am invincible! Get back here, Shocker! Shocker! You can't escape me! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
The 2099 Dimension, featuring a retro-futuristic version of Spider-Man named Miguel O'Hara, who became this Dimension Spider-Man after a genetic procedure gone wrong. This Spider-Man is set in the year, you guessed it, 2099. Instead of having a spider sense like the other Spider-Man, he has heavily enhanced hearing and vision, which is represented gameplay-wise with his accelerated vision ability that allows him to slow down his perception of time. The Noir Dimension, which has a violent, ruthless, alternate version of Peter Parker who actually uses pistols. Not web pistols, he just straight up shoots people.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang! Well, I don't see so good, so I missed. Then they ran away. I ran after them.
Okay.
Bang!
This Peter Parker receives his powers from a spider god after being bit by a spider. This dimension is set in the past, during an alternate version of the Great Depression. Gameplay-wise, he plays the most differently from all the other Spider-Men by having a heavy focus on stealth takedowns to overcome his enemies, instead of the more standard beat-em-up combat the other Spider-Men have. There's actually one more alternate version of Spider-Man that only shows up after you finish the game. And I think this Spider-Man, you just have to see it for yourself.
So, what'd I miss?
What the?
Nuff said, kids. Nuff said.
All of the Spider-Men that appeared in the game would end up featuring heavily as major characters for the Spider-Verse movies. Yes, even Spider-Ham. The Peter B. Parker in the movie being an older, depressed, and recently divorced Amazing Spider-Man, likely took inspiration from the Amazing Spider-Man's One More Day saga, where Spider-Man trades away his marriage with Mary Jane to save his Aunt May. Yep, that's the plot. The blonde and younger version of Peter in the movie, who ends up passing on the Spider-Man mantle to Miles, being kind of a mix between the Ultimate Spider-Man and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, referencing events from the movies during his introduction.
We don't really talk about this.
Spider-Man Noir, playing a supporting role in the first movie. Spider-Man 2099 appearing in the after-credit scene in the first movie, and acting as a sort of antagonist for the second movie. Dan Slott, one of the main writers of Shattered Dimensions, famous or infamous depending on how you feel about his contribution to the Spider-Man mythos, is well known for his work on the Superior Spider-Man, a version of Spider-Man with the mind of Doc Ock, and, well, the Spider-Verse comic saga. The Spider-Verse saga was pretty ambitious for its time. It really did try to include almost every Spider-Man it could, even including referencing ones like the newspaper comic strip Spider-Man that was written by Stan Lee way back when, and the Tokusatsu Spider-Man, even including his giant mech, Leopardon. It even had Spider-Man exclusively made just for that series. One of the most well-known of which is Spider-Gwen. She was so popular, her appearance in the Spider-Verse saga led to the creation of her own spin-off series, aptly named Spider-Gwen. In the Spider-Verse comic saga, Spider-Men from all different dimensions were systematically being hunted down by beings that fed on the powers of Spider-Man called the Inheritors. In order to stop the Inheritors once and for all, the remaining Spider-Men, both good and bad, must work together to take them down. In an interview with Dan Slott, he actually talks about his work on Shattered Dimensions and how it led to creating the Spider-Verse comic series.
I was working on, they brought me in to be the writer for Shattered Dimensions, and they had the premise. And the thing that bothered me on the video game Shattered Dimensions was that the Spideys didn't get to interact with each other. You kept playing because it was a one-player game. Now you're Ultimate Spider-Man. Now you're 616 Spider-Man. Now you're Spider-Man Noir. Now you're 2099. And you kept flipping, which was cool on a gameplay, but it bugged me as a fan that they weren't, you had this Spider-Man adventure with 4 different dimensions and they weren't interacting until the final cutscene, which I wrote, which was awesome. Which I just like, it was fun to finally write all those guys coming together. And when I was at the Beanox studio, I called my editor, Steve Wacker, on the phone, and this is back in 2010, and I go, we should do this in the comics, except we should do what they can't do. We should have them all interact, and not just them, every Spider-Man ever.
A lot of people assume that it was the 90s Spider-Man cartoon finale that inspired the Spider-Verse comic series, but this was also debunked by Dan Slott in a tweet. Lannister Stark asked him on Twitter, did the 90s show play any role in this?
You must help yourself, but that does not mean you will be alone. Look.
Am I going mad? This is the one that's supposed to be our leader? Give me a break. I should be in charge of this group. I'm the real Spider-Man.
I don't know what kind of mind game this is, but I'm the real Spider-Man. The real Peter Parker.
Guess again. See, Pete, old buddy, we're just as genuine as you are. But how can that be? Madam Web says that we're each from different dimensions.
Reality is like a river that splits off into many parallel tributaries. These Spider-Men are from parallel realities, each as legitimate as yours. They're all you, with some slight differences.
Dan Slott replied, not really. It was off my radar till people brought it up after Spider-Verse was over. I saw Spider-Man Unlimited as a continuation of that series, so I felt we had it covered. We had tentative plans to involve them if there was a sequel, Spider-Geddon, but it fell to the side. And that's it. Hopefully, hearing about how this unassuming gem of a game led to one of the best Spider-Man movies in recent memory gives you a newfound appreciation for it. It's kind of impossible now though to get due to licensing issues, but if you ever happen upon a copy of it, it's definitely worth a look, especially if you're a big Spider-Man fan. And if you watched to the end, thank you. I don't normally do these videos, but watching Across the Spider-Verse really reminded me of the hundreds of hours I spent playing these really cool and unique Spider-Man games. I could even talk about more games in the future, if that's something you guys are interested in. If you have any ideas for a video you'd like to see, let me know down in the comments. For now, I'll have Stan Lee sign us off. Take care, guys. See you in the next one.
And so ends one of the most titanic team-ups of all time. And what have we learned here today, Marvelites? That no matter what corner of the cosmos you may find yourself in, there'll always be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to save the day. And to all of you web-spinning wonders, I proudly say, Excelsior!